Hello, welcome back to our channel. Last week I released a video showing how to use iCustom and wrote 2 EAs using iCustom, but it was for MetaTrader 4 only. There are some differences between MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 that made it impractical to incorporate both of those into the same video, or at least I felt that it would be confusing, so I've decided to create 2 videos, and this is the MetaTrader 5 version of the same video. I'm going to be using iCustom using 2 different custom indicators, MACD and Parabolic SAR, and I'm going to write an EA using each of those. If you haven't seen the earlier video, you don't need to. I'm going to be covering everything in this MetaTrader 5 video, but you might find it useful to see how those things operate in MetaTrader 4 if you're doing conversions between 4 and 5, or if you're just interested in some of the background. So, having said that, let's get straight into the code and show you these EAs and how to use iCustom. To start, I have the MACD custom EA here, but this is just a template. It's a fairly generic template that I use when I'm just creating very quick set and forget type experts. But I'll take you through this so that you can see how it works, and then it will be easier to fill in the gaps with the custom indicator. Firstly, because this is just a template, I'm having an input for the take profit and stop loss points. I'm just setting them at 100 points by default. Then there's an input of the order size. I'm setting fixed order sizes and beginning with 0.01 by default. I'm defaulting the trade comment to the file name, and this is just a random magic number that I've plugged in. I like to let the end user edit the magic number. That way, if they want to run the same EA on multiple pairs or the same pair for multiple time frames, they can just change the magic number and make sure that there's no conflict in the trades. Now, because I'm entering the take profit and the stop loss as points, I'll want to convert those to a double value. I've set 2 global variables here to hold the take profit and the stop loss when I do that conversion. I'm including the trade.mqh file here. This is supplied by MetaQuotes, and it'll make the trade for this simple set and forget type EA much easier. If I just open that, you can see this is the MetaQuotes trade object. And I'm declaring a global variable as a pointer to the ctrade class. So then in the onInit, first thing I'm doing is creating my trade object, just new ctrade, and then I'm adding the magic number to this trade object. So that's the magic number that's input above. Now I want to calculate the take profit and stop loss as double values. First I need to know the size of a point. I'm getting that with the symbol info double using the symbol point argument, and I'm multiplying point by the number of points input for the take profit and stop loss, and that gives me double values for the take profit and stop loss. Because I'm creating a pointer object, or a pointer to an object of type ctrade, I'm deleting that when the expert exits. Then in the Ontic functions, I'm only wanting to trade once per bar, so I have a function that tells me if this is a new bar, and if it's not a new bar, then I'm going to return. We'll see that function a little lower. Any calculations will go here, and they will go there for the iCustom when I add those in. And then the strategy, I'm taking the approach here that I'm actually declaring Boolean values of buy condition and sell condition, and I'm going to put the conditions for those in here. At the moment they're just set to false. I could easily have put those conditions in lower where I have this conditional statement for whether to open an order or not, but I just find it more readable, particularly in these demonstrations, if I set the buy condition and the sell condition initially here. And then this is simply, if the buy condition is true, I'm going to open a buy order, and if the sell condition is true, then I'm going to open a sell order, and we'll see the order open function a little lower as well. And then at times I want to save information from one loop through to the next, and that saving of information would go here. The new bar function, very simple. I have a static variable of type date time, which is the previous time, which I'm initializing to 0, and then I'm capturing the current time using the iTime function, And if those two are different, so if current time is not equal to previous time, then I reset previous time to be the same as current time and return true, because this means we've opened up a new bar. And if that is not true, then these code will simply fall through to this statement and return a false value. The order open function, I'm passing in an order type. I'm declaring three variables: price, stop loss price, and take profit price. So then if the order type is a buy, the price, I'm using the symbol info double function to return the ask price for a buy, and I'm normalized double all of these values using the digits function. The stop loss price then for a buy is the price minus the stop loss value that we calculated earlier, that global variable, and the take profit price is the entry price plus take profit. And if the order type is a sell, these are just reversed. I'm getting the bid price for the sell entry, and then stop loss is price plus stop loss, and take profit is price minus take profit. Then I'm using the trade object to open a position. So trade.position open, and the arguments are simply the symbol, the order type, which is passed into this function, the order size, which we input initially, the price calculated above, stop loss price, and take profit price also calculated above, and then the trade comment that was input at the beginning. And then I'm just returning true. I'm not putting any error handling in here. That's probably something that should be added, but I just haven't bothered for this template. So that's the complete template for an expert advisor, and I think I can even compile. Yes, I can. I can compile that expert advisor and it will run, but because the conditions are just set to false by default, it won't make any trades. So now we can move on to adding the conditional code for the iCustom function for the MACD. Now before I start writing code to use the iCustom on MACD, let's first look at the custom indicator and see what we need to capture. So here I have the examples, or the indicators, examples, and inside that there's a MACD custom indicator provided by MetaQuotes. So first thing to note is the name. It's MACD. If I drag that onto the chart, then I can see that it has four inputs: the period, EMA, the fast EMA period, slow EMA period, signal SMA period, and the applied price. I'm going to need to know those four values, or I'm going to need to know what those four values are in order to pass this information into the iCustom function. And if I apply that to the chart, I can then see in the data window two values have appeared, a MACD and a signal value. The MACD value is the first, so that's number 0, index number 0, and the signal is index number 1. So now with that information, we can go and insert the iCustom function into the expert advisor. Now first, to get those values for the inputs to the MACD function, I'm going to create inputs here in the EA to get the same values. So I have an input for the fast EMA period, the slow EMA period, the signal SMA period, and then type enum applied price, the applied price for the MACD function. Now I'm going to add some variables that I can use to hold the index numbers for those values. So first is the indicator name, and as we saw, the indicator is simply called MACD, and it's inside the examples folder in the indicators. Let me just go back to the window here. So in indicators, examples, then we have the MACD function. So I need to include that path from the indicators folder, and because this is a Windows computer, I need a backslash as the separator, and because the backslash is an escape character inside MT5, I need to have two backslashes here. The next is the index number. MACD is index number 0 and signal is index number 1. If we go back to the screen, you can see number 0 is the MACD and number 1 is the signal. Then I'm just declaring an integer variable that I'm calling handle. This will be the handle to the iCustom function. We'll see that used soon. And then for the MACD, I'm going to want to capture 3 values each time I run through the loop of trading. And the same for the signal. I'm going to want to capture the, let me just go to the end. I'm going to want to capture this value and this. So this is the current bar. I want to know when the MACD histogram has crossed over the signal line, and I'm going to want to know that for the bar that's just closed, which means that I need to have the value for the bar before and the bar that's just closed. Let me see if I can just make this signal line a little easier to see. So what I'm looking for is that bar number 2, counting from right to left, 0, 1, 2, I want that bar to be above the signal line, and then if the next bar is below the signal line, that triggers a sell signal for me, and if the bar is below the signal line and then rises to above it, then that signals a buy trade for me. I'm not saying this is a great strategy, this is just a good example of how to write the code. Let's go back to the code now. So I'm setting up a buffer of size 3, and that's because I want to capture these 3 values. So now I need to set up the handle to that indicator. I'll put that into the onInit function here. So my handle is obtained from the iCustom function. First argument is the symbol name, the second argument is the time frame, and the third argument is the name of the indicator. I prefer to put the constants like this into a variable, as I've done above, rather than hard code them here in line in the code. So the first 3 arguments are always symbol, time frame, and indicator name. And then let me just bring this back across so it's easier to see. The next arguments are the same arguments that are passed to the custom indicator in the same order. So the first argument that the custom indicator took was the fast EMA period, the second was the slow EMA, third was the signal SMA, and the last was the applied price. And I've captured all of those in input statements above, and I'm just passing them to the custom indicator in that same order. It is possible to not complete all of these, so I could remove the last or any of the remaining, and they will be filled in by the default values for the indicator. But I think it's better to actually feed these in. And then I'm just testing that I've got a valid handle, so if the handle that comes back is the invalid handle, then I'm just saying that I've got an error and I'm exiting, and that will stop the EA from running. Next, because I've created a handle to an indicator, the same way that I have to release objects here with this delete statement, I need to release that indicator with an indicator release function. Now to the Ontic function, I need to get values from that custom indicator. So I'll do that here. And I do that with copy buffer. So the arguments to copy buffer, firstly, the handle to the indicator. Second, the index of the value that I want back. So this is the MACD, which is 0. Next is the start position that I want to get the values. So I'm starting from bar number 0 on the far right. And next is the number of values that I want to retrieve. So I want bars 0, 1, and 2. So that gives me 3. And I'm storing those in this variable that I've already declared, the MACD buffer, and that is an array, a double array of size 3. This returns a count variable, which is the number of values that have actually been copied into this buffer. So I want to test that that is at least 3. So if this has come back with less than 3, it could be because that indicator is still populating, and if I don't have enough information I can't process, so I'm simply going to return. So you should always check the number of values returned from the copy buffer and make sure that they're sufficient for your needs. I'm doing the same then, copy buffer into the buffer signal, giving a different index. I'm not bothering to test the count after this because I'm making an assumption that if there are at least 3 values in the MACD index, then there should be at least the same number in the signal index. So now I have 2 arrays, MACD buffer and signal buffer, that contain the values from the MACD. Although on a chart typically bar number 0 is the current bar and bar number 1 would be the bar just finished, this copy buffer statement always copies the oldest value into element number 0. So let me go back to the chart. This bar is typically called bar number 0, 1, and then 2. But the copy buffer statement will copy the oldest, being this bar, into element number 0, this into element number 1, and this into element number 2. And that's true whether you set as series true or false. So it's always going to be that way. So what I'm going to do next is grab those values from the buffers so that I know what I'm talking about rather than use the indices. So that means to me that I'm going to be looking at elements number 0 for the setup and 1 to determine if then the histogram has crossed the signal line. Easier to see here. So element number 0, element number 1, and then the current bar would be element number 2. I don't actually use the current bar, but I'm capturing it here in the buffers anyway. So to get these values and use them, I could easily just use the buffers and the indices in these conditions, but I'm just going to convert those, I'm going to capture those into variables. So here I'm going to set up the current MACD value is buffer MACD1, and by current I mean the bar that's just closed. And the current signal value is buffer signal1, and the prior value is the 0 element from those 2 buffers. So now we can update these buy and sell conditions with real values. So my buy condition, if the prior MACD is less than 0, so below the 0 line, and it is less than or equal to the prior signal, so the histogram is below the signal line, and the current MACD is now above the current signal line, then that triggers a buy condition. So that would occur here where the MACD has been below the 0 line and then it has crossed above its own signal line. The sell condition is just the opposite. If the prior MACD is above 0, so it's above the 0 line, and it's above the prior signal line, and the current MACD has crossed to be below the signal line, then I'm going to sell, and that would be a condition as here, where I have the MACD above the 0 line and above the signal line, and then it crosses below the signal line. So that sets up my buy and sell conditions. And then there is nothing else to do in this EA. I'm simply buying and selling because I'm relying on the take profit and stop loss to close the trades. I don't need to worry about any conditions for exiting. So once the order open is called, then I can forget that, and it will loop back then at the next bar to determine if there's a new entry or exit. So just to make sure I haven't made a mistake, I hit the compile button, and I did. Not sure how that happened. Okay, that's all done. And I have that EA running here in the strategy tester. So if we just wait until the signal line crosses, and there the signal line, well, the MACD has just crossed above the signal line, and we've placed a buy trade. So that's what the expert's meant to do. So let's just review that iCustom function before we finish with this EA, and then we'll move on to another custom function. To use the iCustom function, first we created a handle, that's an integer type, to the iCustom function. 3 arguments are the symbol, time frame, and name of the indicator, including the path. And then the remaining arguments are the same arguments that are passed into that custom indicator, and it is possible not to fill all of these, and then the defaults will be used for any that are missing. Once you have the handle, you should test the handle to see that it is valid and that you've actually attached to the correct custom indicator. It's quite easy to get the indicator name wrong or to find that the custom indicator has been moved out of that folder. So you should always check this handle to see that it is not invalid handle. You should also release the handle when finished, so using the indicator release function in the dinit. And then to use the values from that handle, we use copy buffer, copying from that handle for the given value number, the starting position to copy, the number of elements to copy, and the buffer to copy the values into. And always check the count that's received from that to make sure that you have received enough. If for some reason this handle doesn't have any values in it yet, you'll get a -1 coming back in the count. So always check that count is enough values for you to work with. So the next indicator I'm going to use is the parabolic SAR, and here it is under indicators, examples, parabolic SAR. So copy that onto the chart. It has 2 inputs, a step and a maximum. If I add that to the chart, then I can see that it has only one value, index number 0. So let's go to the code. I've already created the EA for this, so we'll just go through the lines of code there. So the 2 inputs I want then are the step and the maximum, and I've just set these to same defaults for the indicator. I still have an order size, a trade comment, and a magic number. Then for the values for that buffer, the indicator name is examples parabolic SAR. The index, there is only one value, so it's index number 0. I still have a handle, and I have only one buffer to hold the values because there is only one index. The iCustom function, always the first 3 arguments are the symbol, the time frame, and the indicator name. Then I'm just passing my 2 values of step and maximum, testing the handle as before, and releasing the handle when finished. In the Ontic function, again, I'm capturing the count from copy buffer, handle, using the index SAR, which is just index 0. I'm still wanting 3 values for this into the SAR buffer, and I'm still testing that the count returned is at least 3 and returning if it isn't. So the values I want then, because this strategy, again, just a good example strategy, I'm simply saying when the parabolic SAR flips from top to bottom, I'm going to buy, and when it flips from bottom to top, as it did here, then I'll sell. So the theory is that when the parabolic SAR is above the candles, we're in a downtrend, and when it's below the candles, we're in an uptrend. Clearly you can see here that that wasn't the case, but this is not meant to be an example of a strategy. This is how to use the iCustom function. So I need 2 values for the SAR. I need the prior SAR, which is coming from element 0 of the buffer, and that is the second bar to the left of the current bar. And the current SAR, or the SAR for the bar just closed, is in element number 1, which is the first bar to the left. So back to the chart. This is bar number 0. So this is where I'm getting the current SAR value from the first bar to the left, and the prior SAR value is coming from the second bar to the left. And then to test whether the SAR has flipped above or below the bar, I'm just capturing the close value from the bar. When the SAR is above, it's above the entire bar, and when it's below the entire bar. So I could pick any value. I'm just choosing the close. I'm just getting that with the iClose function. Then my buy condition is simply if the prior SAR is above the close, so SAR is above the bar, and the current SAR is below, then I'm going to buy. If the prior SAR is below and the current SAR is above, then I'm going to sell. Now the one thing I'm adding into this that I didn't have in the MACD is that when the SAR flips from top to bottom or bottom to top, I'm going to close all of the positions that I already had open. So if I'm buying, that means I'm going to close all of the sell positions. So I've added this new function, close all, and I'm passing in that position type sell. And if I'm now selling, then I'm going to close all of the position type buy. So the new bar function is the same. Here's the close all function that I've added. So to do this, simple loop, count of the total number of positions using the positions total function. And then I'm looping through from top to bottom. So from I equal to count minus 1, as long as I is greater than or equal to 0, using I minus minus, so counting down. Then I'm capturing the ticket number using the position get ticket. So this is passed an index number of the positions, and then we'll return the ticket value. I'm doing a quick check to make sure that the ticket that I got is greater than 0, and if it is, then I'm testing using position get string for the symbol, whether that is my current symbol. I'll just wrap these around so they're easier to see. So if the symbol matches my current symbol, using position get integer for the magic number, for using position magic, if that matches my input magic number, and finally using position get integer for the position type, if that's equal to the position type passed into this function, then I'm going to use the position close method from that trade object, passing in the ticket number, and then just keep looping through. So that will close all of the trades of this given position type. And the rest of this is the same as it was for the MACD. Let me just check that and compile. And that worked. And here is the EA running on the parabolic SAR. We'll just wait for the candle to cross the SAR line and we should see a trade. And then we have a buy trade because the SAR has slipped down to below the candle. And here we can see why it's not a great strategy, because we've immediately lost on that and flipped to a sell. So that is the use of the iCustom function in MQL5. Create a handle, calling the iCustom function. 3 arguments are the symbol, the time frame, and the name of the indicator, including the full path, as we have here. And then the arguments to that custom indicator in the same order that they are found on the custom indicator. Check the handle to make sure it's valid. Release the handle when the expert finishes. And to use values from that, use the copy buffer statement, passing in the handle, the value number that you want to get from that custom indicator, start position of the values to retrieve, the number of values to retrieve, and then a buffer or an array where the values are going to be copied. And check the count of the values retrieved using copy buffer. And that's all there is to using iCustom in your EAs in MetaTrader 5. Hope you found this useful. If you have, please leave a like. And if you have any questions, leave comments. If you would like to see more of these videos, remember to click the subscribe button and click the bell icon to be notified when the videos are released. So until next time, thank you for watching.